What's going on, guys? It's ETA Prime back here again. Today I am super excited because I got my hands on the all-new Red Magic 5G from Nubia. Now on paper this thing is an absolute beast. A Snapdragon 865 CPU, liquid/active cooling. Yes, this does have a fan built in just like the Red Magic 3 and the 3S. Plus we have some new features here, specifically the screen. A new 144Hz AMOLED display for super smooth gaming. And it comes preloaded with Android 10. So in this video, I'm going to do a quick unboxing. We're going to take a look at the phone. We'll go over the specs. I'm going to run some benchmarks and kind of compare it to the brand new Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra. And then finally, we'll get into some gaming and wrap it up with a little bit of emulation. But for this phone here, I do want to do a dedicated emulation video. With this new Snapdragon 865 CPU, there's a lot I want to test out, so I have to do a dedicated video when it comes to emulation. There's just too much to test. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know I'm a big fan of these Red Magic phones. I've actually done a review on the Red Magic 3, the 3S, and finally we have the 5G in-house, and I'm ready to test it out. So inside of the box, you're obviously going to receive the phone itself. You also get a user manual and a SIM tool. Moving over to the cables included, I believe we just get one USB Type-C cable. And the charger itself. Like I mentioned, it comes with an 18-watt charger. But the phone itself does support up to 55 watts. So overall, I like the design of the phone. Not much has changed from the Red Magic 3 or the 3S. We still have this Red Magic switch over here, and when this is switched on, it'll bring us to our game launcher menu, and it'll also turn the fan on, or the LED in the back if you have it set up that way. So this time around, they're not using the LED strip in the rear. They're using the Red Magic logo here with RGB behind it, and you can go into the settings, change the color up. You can also change the pattern and how it's activated. So on the top of the device, they have kept that 3.5mm audio jack for our headphones. Over on the right hand side, directly in the middle, we have our volume rocker, power button, and we also have what Red Magic is calling Pro triggers. There are two physical touch buttons on the side of the device, and you can map them from software in your favorite FPS game or pretty much any game. I usually set my right hand side up as shoot and my left hand side as reload, but you can set it up any way you'd like. And finally, on the bottom of the device, we have our SIM card tray. Unfortunately, this does not support micro SD cards. You're going to be stuck with the storage you buy. This one has 128 gigabytes, but like I mentioned, you can buy one with 256. We also have our USB Type-C connection for charging, sync, and HDMI out, and the speaker system. So like I mentioned, this is packed with top-of-the-line specs. For the CPU, we have the Snapdragon 865. This is an octa-core CPU with a clock speed up to 2.84 gigahertz. It also includes active liquid cooling and a fan that'll spin up to 15,000 RPM to keep this thing nice and chilly. The GPU is the Adreno 650 up to 587 MHz. As of making this video, there are two variants of the Red Magic 5G. One comes with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, and the other one comes with 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. Again, the display looks amazing on this thing. We have a 6.65-inch 144Hz AMOLED display at 1080 by 2340. And by the way, the touch response on this screen is rated at 300 Hz. As the name suggests, it does support 5G. We have a dual SIM setup here, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.1, and NFC. Plus, a big change from the other Red Magic phones, this does support HDMI over USB Type-C. It comes packed with a 4,500 mAh battery. It will support up to 55 watt quick charging, but the charger that comes in the box is only 18 watts, at least for the versions that are out right now. And the whole thing's running on Android 10 with the Red Magic OS 3.0 interface. As for cameras, on the rear, we have a 64 megapixel Sony IMX686. We have another 8 megapixel for ultra wide and a 2 megapixel for macro. It'll shoot 8K video at 15 FPS, and in my opinion, this is a real gimmicky thing right now that a lot of companies are doing, but it'll also do 4K at 60 FPS, and we have an 8 megapixel front that'll do up to 1080p 30. So I gotta say, I really love the look of this new phone, and like I mentioned, this screen is absolutely amazing, especially with that 144Hz turned on. You can go from 60, 90 to 144, and you can definitely notice it even just scrolling through your app list. The user experience with Android 10 on this device has been super smooth. If I turn on the little switch on the side, we get the lights, and it'll bring us to our game launcher. From here, you can set up different profiles for each game. You can change how the Pro triggers work, recording quality, things like that. We also have a fan option right here. I usually leave mine to maxed out when I have it in gaming mode. But overall, everything's been super smooth so far. So in the past, I have reviewed the original Red Magic 3, the 3S, and now we have the 5G. If you put these all together, you'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference until you turn them over. Then you can really get a feel for which one is which. Now I want to move over to some benchmarks on the Red Magic 5, but I'm going to be comparing it against the original Red Magic 3, the 3S, and I'm even going to throw the Galaxy S20 Ultra into the mix because after all, that's a $1,400 phone. And the base price on the Red Magic 5G is $550. So first up, we have Geekbench 5. I'm not going to go over each one of these scores, but just keep in mind higher is better. We have a single-core CPU test here and a multi-core CPU test. So the Red Magic 5G and the Galaxy S20 Ultra are both running the Snapdragon 865, but as you can see, the Red Magic 5G did beat out the Galaxy S20 Ultra in single-core and multi-core, given not by much, but it's still a win for the Red Magic. Next up, we have 3D Mark Slingshot Extreme. Again, higher is better here. This is a GPU test on the Red Magic 5G for OpenGL ES 3.1, 7,239. For Vulkan, 6,659. Now, I did run this test a few times, and every time I ran it, the Galaxy S20 Ultra beat out the 5G in OpenGL, but it lost to it in Vulkan. And with this test here, the Ultra only lost by 1 point in Vulkan. I mean, these are pretty much on par with each other, and in the end, they're using the same CPU with a different cooling system. And the final test I ran was ANTUTU 8. As you can see, the Red Magic 5G did come out on top and beat everything here on the table, even the S20 Ultra. It didn't get it by much, but I think it really comes down to that memory we're using in the 5G. It's just faster than the memory that's being used in the S20 Ultra. But either way you look at it, the Snapdragon 865 is a beast of a chip for a mobile device. So moving over to some game testing, the first one I wanted to try out was Minecraft because I know I could get that FPS counter on screen, and I know this does support at least 120 Hz, but as you can see here, it's also supporting 144 Hz. But as soon as something big goes on and it drops down below 90, it'll lock it at 120, which is more than enough for a Minecraft game. Unfortunately, the Red Magic 5G doesn't support an FPS overlay like, let's say, the ROG Phone 2, and all of the apps that used to work with Android 8 and 9 don't work any longer with Android 10, at least everything that I've tried. But it's kind of crazy running Minecraft at 144 or 145 FPS on a mobile device. Now, it's not going to come across on camera like I'm seeing it with my naked eye, but overall, this is absolutely amazing. Now, when it comes to games like PUBG, it's going to run them at 60 FPS all day. Unfortunately, at least in the US, getting PUBG from the Google Play Store does not allow you to go any higher than 60 on any device that I know of. Hopefully, they do add 120 here. I've heard rumor that it is working in China. But either way, it's a pretty smooth experience on this device, and those pro triggers really help out. And by the way, I am running this at max settings, and it's super smooth here. And here's Call of Duty Mobile. I'm going to set up the Pro triggers real quick. Swipe from the side, enable my triggers, turn them on, and we have right and left. You can set them anywhere you'd like. Press the X button, and now we can use these Pro triggers in pretty much any game. And they definitely help out a lot in games like this and PUBG. Now this is something I definitely wanted to show off because the original Red Magic 3 and 3S did not support HDMI over USB Type-C, but the 5G does. So you can run your favorite mobile games and emulators on a big screen TV as long as it supports a controller. That'll be the easiest way to go. I'm using an Xbox One Bluetooth controller here, and it's working great. When you're connected over HDMI, it does 1080p video output and 60 FPS. That's it. You can't get 90 or 144 out of this. And before I wrap this video up, I did want to test out some emulation, but like I mentioned, I will have a full emulation showcase video coming up very soon, so keep an eye on the channel. I definitely got a lot of stuff to test here, but just to give you an idea, I tested out a few. This is PSP using the PPSSPP emulator at 3x resolution. I haven't turned on any of the hacks at all. This is God of War Chains of Olympus, and it's running at a steady 60 FPS. Next on the list, we have the Dolphin emulator with some GameCube. This is Auto Modellista. I've always had trouble with this on ARM devices. Even the Snapdragon 855 Plus really struggles, but this chip is handling it really well. I'm very surprised to see this. This is some of the best performance I've seen out of this emulator in game on any ARM-based Android device I've ever tested on my channel. And finally, we have Citra MMJ. This is a 3DS emulator. The emulator itself definitely still needs some work, but it's performing really well on the Red Magic 5G. When I do my full emulation test video on this phone, I will test out some more 3DS games, some GameCube, Wii, we'll go with a couple more PSP, and we'll even test out PS2 plus Sega Saturn. So my first impressions of this phone, it's an absolute beast. That Snapdragon 865 paired with that cooling system is a monster. That 144Hz AMOLED display looks absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of stuff out there that supports 144 FPS yet on Android, but there are a lot of games on Google Play right now that'll support at least 120 FPS, and it's kind of mind-blowing seeing that running on a mobile device that you keep in your pocket. Now, before I do a full-blown review on this device, I do want to have it in my possession and use it for at least a week. Now, this is going to be releasing on April 14th, so I do have some time, but in the meantime, I will be posting a couple more videos using the Red Magic 5G, so definitely keep an eye out for that, and if there's anything else you'd like tested on this device, just let me know in the comments below. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, but like always, thanks for watching.